Good morning, everyone. My name is Maya Luria with TMC for Seniors, and we are now in February. It is Heart Month, and what better way to kick off Heart Month than with exercise your way to a healthy heart? So I have Mike Urquhart here with me. He is an exercise physiologist, a longtime exercise physiologist with TMC, and he works for our cardiac rehab. He sees patients in the hospital all the time, after somebody might have had some sort of a heart event. And he's here to share with you more about what you can do with your exercise. So, welcome, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Maya. Hey, it's always great to present in this arena. I mean, it's fantastic. The people are great, and you're great as well. It's such a good program that you have together here as well. I mean, I think it really promotes the healthy lifestyle to, a lot of people that probably wouldn't hear this message otherwise. So, I'm glad you have this opportunity to do this here.
Thank you. So, you do have an in person audience and you also have an online audience today. So, if you're watching from home, please feel free to leave any questions in the chat and I'll ask Mike after his presentation. We'll try to get those addressed for you. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. I've put your PowerPoint up for you, Mike, so you can go ahead and get started.
Excellent. Fantastic. So, once again, this is a presentation about exercising to build a nice, healthy heart. And so, what I'm going to do, since I am a physiologist, and a lot of people are wondering, what's an exercise physiologist, right? Who knows what an exercise physiologist is? Well, what happened here? There we go. So, a physiologist is a person that studies the systems of the body and how they work. Now, I just happen to be an exercise physiologist. And so an exercise physiologist studies how exercise affects an individual, how, what happens when you exercise. But physiology, in a nutshell, is the study of function, the study of function. And I like to think I put the fun in function. So that's why us physiologists are here at TMC. And so the information that we gather on our patients that are on the floor, that are in our clinic, we give that information to the cardiologists, physicians, whoever needs that information to see how that patient is recovering or progressing from some sort of cardiac issue. And it can be anything from valve surgery, CABG, which is known as an artery bypass graft. Gosh, you name it. There's so many different aspects of cardiac physiology anyways. But so I'm here to talk to you today about what does exercise do to our bodies? Why do we need to exercise to help our heart? Well, it's very simple. How many of you exercise now? Very good. How many of you are exercising correctly? Ooh, that's not me. Okay. Yeah, what does that mean? So, yeah, and hopefully we can answer some of those questions as well. But anyway, so first of all, hopefully this works right. So atherosclerosis, actually did this. So the heart is the main pumping station of your circulatory system. The veins and arteries, they're like pipes. They're like pipes, very analogous to the pipes in your home, except that these pipes, they're alive. These pipes are alive, and they function by squeezing, constricting, and dilating to allow that blood to flow through your body properly. And then, of course, the heart is that pumping station. Now, over time, and it starts when we're about 13 years of age, we start building up plaque in our arteries. This picture that you're seeing here is actually a picture of how that plaque starts to increase about every 10 years of your life. And this is like normal everyday life. It doesn't mean that you've been training for a marathon since birth and you've been eating well. But this is just kind of an average based on our current diet that most Americans eat. And so we see a progression of atherosclerosis all the way up and through until about 60 years of age. That's when we start noticing issues with that's when we start noticing issues with that plaque buildup. We start getting that constriction, we start getting the narrowing of our blood vessels. And that narrowing of the blood vessels decreases blood flow to different parts of our body. So what we used to think of as slowing down as we get older, typically it's because of this. Your blood flow just isn't the same as it used to be. Your heart's still pumping. Heart still pumps just like it was when you were, I don't know, when you were like 15, 16 years old. But it's these pipes, they start to get narrowed. And so what I'm here to do is to help you so that you can reduce that or even kind of reverse it a little bit as well. And one of our main components is this molecule right here, HDL. So when you have a lipid panel, a blood test, and a lot of times your physician, your PCP will ask for you to get a blood test, lipid panel, and they'll look at your LDL, your cholesterol, your triglycerides. One of the biggest things that they look for is this HDL as well. This HDL is known as good cholesterol. I really don't like saying that because there's no such thing really as bad and good cholesterol. But when compared to LDL, I'm sure you've heard that, right? LDL? LDL, low density lipoproteins. HDL, high density lipoproteins. LDL is a combination of cholesterol, saturated fatty acids, all this kind of glut that kind of flows through your bloodstream. And when that number is high, that means you're at risk for cardiovascular issues, higher risk. And then along with your cholesterol numbers too, it signifies an increased risk. And so what I'm here to tell you is that if you can increase this HDL, you can decrease that LDL. So LDL floats that bad stuff through your arteries and it causes it to clog up your blood vessels. Whereas HDL, it sequesters that LDL and takes it back to the liver for reprocessing and eventually elimination. If you have low levels of this HDL, then your body isn't quite as efficient at removing that LDL. So, what's my point here? Somebody's about to say it, I know it. My point is, let's increase that HDL. So can you increase that HDL? Well, obviously I wouldn't be here if I'm giving you this talk if you couldn't. But yes, you can increase that HDL. The number one way to increase your HDL is to exercise. By increasing your HDL, you can decrease your cardiovascular risk of any sort of heart-related disease. And so by exercising, you can decrease the amount of plaque buildup in your arteries. In some cases, in some research, it has shown that increased levels of HDL have actually decreased that atherosclerotic plaque that we just looked at as well. Okay, so let's see, yeah. So like I was saying, so LDL dumps, that lipid, fatty, cholesterol-laden goo onto your arteries, whereas the HDL picks it up and takes it away. So the more HDL you have, the more can be carted away. Now, yeah, so it's just more. I really like talking about this HDL because it is the key. It is the key to reducing your cardiovascular risks. Now, along with diet, making sure your diet is low in saturated fatty acids. And saturated fatty acids are, mostly from processed foods, from high meat consumption, fats that are generally solid at room temperature. Those are saturated fatty acids. Okay. But, once again, HDL versus LDL. When you get that blood test, you want to see what that ratio is between your HDL and LDL. Typically, you want to see about a 2-to-1 ratio of your LDL to HDL. If it's a little bit lower than that, then you got to bring that HDL up or lower your LDL. Sorry, I talked all the way through this at a time. Another way to increase your HDL is to lose weight. And what's the best way to lose weight? Exercise, that's right, to exercise. Wow, it's all pointing to one thing, isn't it? Exercise. The other thing that exercise does is it increases your functional capacity as well. The higher the heart rate that you work out at, the higher the heart rate your heart can withstand. The more weight you can lift, the more weight you can lift. That's increasing your functional capacity. The more you do, the more you can do. That's as simple as that. So, functional capacity. How do you increase your functional capacity? How can we increase your HDL? What is the best exercise? Does anybody know? You've been to my talk before, haven't you?
Well, no, I haven't, but anything that you can do.
Exactly, anything that you can do. I would love to tell you walking is the best exercise. But if you can't walk, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I could tell you swimming is the best exercise. But if you can't swim, that's not gonna do it either.
Chair exercise.
Chair exercises, have you been in my talk before too? No? Okay. But I did bring a fancy piece of equipment with me today to show you some exercises that almost anybody can do, and it's great to do, multiple times a day if you have the time. But yes, walking. The biggest answer, the best answer is any sort of exercise you can do. The thing about exercise, though, it must be consistent. It must be consistent, and it must be progressive. It must be progressive. If you are able to walk 1 mile today, try to walk 1.1 miles tomorrow. You've got to continually to increase your progress. If you don't, your body will stagnate. You won't increase your functional capacity anymore. You'll get to a point, then it'll stop. And so keep increasing. And believe it or not, it gets easier as well. Yes, I said that exercise can be easy. Yeah, the first couple of times, not so much, but it does get easier. Like I said earlier, I do work at TMC Outpatient Cardiac Rehab and Inpatient Cardiac Rehab. I see patients every day that say, "Oh no, I can't do that. That's too hard for me." First of all, I don't like using that word hard. Hard, that's a negative word. Let's think of things as intense or effortful. Okay, hard, get that out of your conversation. Okay, but anyways, typically that first day is a little bit on the tough, the intense, the effortful side. But as you progress, people don't even remember that hard day, that intense first day, because they've long surpassed that. Now their intense or their hard day is a lot more function than it was before. And they look back and go, "What? You mean I couldn't do that like the first day, but now I'm doing this?" It's because you've increased your functional capacity. And by increasing your functional capacity, you've actually increased your blood flow. And that blood flow is what keeps your heart healthy. It's what we have to the blood carries, oxygen, it carries nutrients. And of course, some of those nutrients are fats. Some of those nutrients are cholesterol. We do need that. But the easier it can flow, the more those muscles need those nutrients, the better we are. The less fatty deposits we get in our arteries. So, once again, what's the best exercise? Anything you can do. And it has to be consistent and progressive. Now, how should you perform this exercise? Most exercise that I'm talking about now is aerobic exercise. And aerobic exercise is exercise that you can maintain for a continuous amount of time of about 25 to 30 minutes, and then even longer as you progress, as you get better and better at it. But it's that aerobic activity, you're doing that activity utilizing oxygen as opposed to anaerobic activity, like weightlifting, where your body, your muscles are not using oxygen. That's anaerobic activity. That's short duration activity. Now, there is a plus side to anaerobic activity as well, but I would like for you to focus on the aerobic activity for our purposes right now. But so aerobic activity, walking, cycling, swimming, yeah. Anything that gets your heart rate up, above that threshold. We'll talk about the threshold in a little bit. Hold on. That gets your heart rate above the threshold, and you maintain that for about 20, 30 minutes. And the best way to do that is about 2 to 3 times a week. You can do it 4 times, you can do it 5 times. There's nothing wrong with that. But just to make sure if you're just starting out, to keep it to a minimum and allow your body to progress, allow your body to crave that extra. And it will crave that. It'll go, wow, that felt great. I can't wait to do it tomorrow. And then after tomorrow, your body will say, oh wow, that felt good too. I can't wait to do it the next day. But when you first start off, your body really doesn't say that to you. You're like, okay, all right, good. All right, I'll take a little break tomorrow, maybe do something else. There's also alternative exercise that you can perform that might get you through that next day as well. But so parking. Where did you guys park today? Right out there? In the closest parking spot?
I park way out and then way away.
Okay, good. Because that's exercise. That's alternative exercise. Let's see, today is Wednesday. Friday is a big Costco day, right? You go to Costco on Friday, Saturday? That, believe it or not, it's exercise. It's a little bit stressful, but it is exercise. Because you park your car way out in the boonies, especially if you go on Friday or Saturday. You have to walk all the way in, and then you grab a cart because a lot of times when you get to the door, the carts are gone. So you've got to get that cart before you get in there. And that's a little bit of effort. You can probably feel your heart rate picking up a little bit. And then you get inside, and as you load your cart, that's progressive exercise because that cart gets heavier. And by the time you're done, after 30, 40 minutes of shopping, you're ready to go. Can you count that as exercise? Sure, why not? I'm going to Costco today. That's my exercise. I'll be there 30 minutes. Don't bother me. I'm going to put my headphones on, and I'm not going to talk to anybody. That's exercise. That can be exercise.
I say keep moving it.
Yeah, you keep moving. Yeah, don't stop in Costco. Oh my gosh, somebody will run you over if you stop in Costco. Yeah, you got to keep going. Walmart's the same. I don't want to say anything bad about Walmart, but that's the same thing. But yeah, that can be alternative exercise. So you go on your formal exercise on Monday. You go walking. Are you guys together?
Sometimes.
So one of the best exercises, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do this next time. Is love exercise. You go on a walk holding hands. Okay, that's tomorrow.
It's great idea.
Yeah, exactly. Take your spouse, your loved one, your partner, your friend, okay, and your dog.
I take my cat.
Yeah,
Take
take
it
your.
there.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. I was going to say you can walk your cat. You say that. But because cats are like all over the place. But yeah, do that. That's great. That can be your formal exercise. And then your alternative exercise can be Costco, around at Costco. But yeah, so I talked about a little bit about, yeah, so any sort of exercise, dancing. When was the last time you went dancing? And why?
My husband doesn't want to dance. My husband does.
Zumba, there you
My
go.
husband doesn't want to dance.
Yeah. When was the last time you went dancing, sir?
Hey, what?
When was the last time you went dancing?
Dancing?
Yes, sir.
Oh, about 18 years ago.
Okay. Well, dancing is a perfect exercise. You have music, you have a beat to follow, there's usually other people. Oh my gosh, I don't know why we don't dance anymore. I went to this great concert about 2 weeks ago, and everybody was sitting in their seats. And then I felt bad about getting up and wanting to dance to the concert. But dancing is great exercise, even if you do it by yourself in your home. Turn your radio on, your stereo, your iPod, iPad, whatever you have, and just move around. Just move around in 30 minutes. That's like 3 songs nowadays, isn't it? That's only like 3 songs. 3 songs, 10 minutes apiece? Sure. Spending time with family, swimming in the pool. Oh my gosh, just don't be sedentary. If you find yourself at 4 o'clock in the afternoon sitting back, switching channels, unless you worked out early in the morning, then that's okay. But if you find yourself doing that all day long, get out. Get out. The hardest thing about starting an exercise plan or program is that first step. That's the hardest thing. And yeah, you don't have to go out the door. You don't have to go outside to do that exercise. You can do it indoors. So if you don't feel comfortable going outside, do something inside. Do you have to buy expensive equipment to exercise at home? Yeah. No, you don't. I brought with me a great piece of equipment. This piece of equipment is very expensive though. Sorry. But I'm not sure how much TMC paid for this, but I'm sure it's more than what any of you probably paid for yours. But anyways, I have this right here, a chair. A chair. Yeah, I think this chair at TMC might be $300-400. I'm serious too. It probably is. But you can go to Walmart and get one. Or actually, you know what? I bet you have one in your home. Yeah. You don't have to go out and get a special one. But there are some very simple exercises you can do at home. Gosh, I could do maybe 75 different exercises with this chair right now. 75 different exercises. The first one is very basic.
Hey, Mike.
Yes. Oh, yeah, sorry. So I want to try to sit a little bit sideways. Yeah, let me know. Sideways, is this good? Okay. I'm going to sit a little bit sideways. The first one is just a simple sit to stand. When you sit to stand, it's hard. It's hard to stand up sitting in the back of your chair. Come to the edge of your chair. Come to the edge of the chair. Now, I'm going to count this as a couple of those different exercises that you can do. I said 75. I'm going to show you one version. Okay, this is number 1. 1, hands down by your side, and just stand up. And then sit down. Make sure that chair is still under you. And stand up and sit down. Okay, this is version number 2. Put your hands on your head and stand up and sit down. Put your hands out to the side, stand up and sit down. A lot of these exercises are great because they not only work on that cardiovascular endurance or that aerobic portion, it also works on your musculature and it works on your balance as well. So hands out in front and up, just like that, and down. Now, even just sitting in the chair, leg extensions. Right leg, left leg. And then all over the place, all over town, excuse me. The weather outside is making my nose run. I don't know why. But all over town, you pay hundreds of dollars for these classes. And I know there's a great one here that's free. Chair yoga. Reaching. Hands by the side, twisting. Outstanding exercise that you can do in your chair. You can do in the chair. Now, another one, I don't want you to try this one too soon, but pretend like there's a wall in front of me. I can lean on the wall and lift the chair. Now we have weight training. You can turn the chair around. You can do stretching. You can do leg swings. You can do calf raises. How many is that? Anybody counting? You can do squats. You can do lunges. Let's see, there's so many different exercises that you can do utilizing a chair. If you add stretch cords, once again, stretch cords, it is a piece of equipment that most people will have to buy, but inexpensive. great resistance exercise. But as far as cardiovascular exercise, the chair is great. The sit to stand is probably one of the best ones. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about, see, I'm already breathing from that. It's increasing my functional capacity. Yeah, we've already talked about that. 15 to 20 minutes. Water exercises are great. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I've talked all the way through these. Resistance training, which is, another form of exercise training that actually builds your musculature and improves your blood flow. The reason why your blood gets back to your heart is because of the contraction of your peripheral muscles. Your heart squeezes it out, but it's all of your peripheral muscles that cause it to come back. So the stronger your peripheral muscles are, the more force your blood will come back to the heart as well. And so by keeping your musculature strong, and that's where weight training plays a huge part. Weight training to increase your muscular density as well. So a lot of this weight training, like I said before, you can use dumbbells, which you can go to the store and buy. That's expensive, right? Or you can use stretch cords, which you can go to the store and buy, right? Or you can use regular household items, milk jugs, canned soup, you name it. Names, just say something. Any water bottles. Yeah, anything you can to get that resistance training. And if you don't want to use that, you can use your own body weight. Once again, let's pretend like there's a wall here. I'm going to do push-ups on the wall. Right? Have you ever done that? If there's a wall here, you can lean. This is my imaginary wall. You can lean on the wall and do squats using your own body weight. So, before you guys leave here today, I want you to write down your exercise plan. Okay, what you're going to do for the next 5 days. Wait, today's Wednesday. I might give you till Monday to start it, but because Monday, blah, 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 all the way to next week. But I want you to think about what you can do. You can walk for 15 to 20 minutes. You can do some chair exercises. And then stretching. We're not going to talk about stretching, although stretching, that's another thing that you can do for your circulation, for your heart, healthy exercise, is stretching. Okay? Now, how do we know we're doing it correctly? I think I proposed that a little bit earlier. Intensity. How do we know that we're doing it correctly? Well, one of the best things to do, how do you figure out your intensity? When you do your exercise, you do want to perform your exercise at an intensity that's going to cause that increase in functional capacity. I've always said that if I could twiddle my thumbs fast enough and long enough to raise my heart rate, that would be my exercise.
Did you succeed?
No, because twiddling my thumbs, I can't raise my heart rate high enough. I mean, it's great, for my fingers to do that, but it's just not a good cardiovascular exercise. And so we really have to try to figure out what our intensity level is. There's several ways you can do it. You can do it simply just by putting a number scale in your head. The numbers between 1 and 10. If you're exercising at an intensity of 1, that probably means you're sitting on the couch. But if you're exercising at an intensity of 10, that's probably the most intense, and I'm going to use the word hard, probably the hardest thing you've ever done. We don't want you exercising at a 10. We want the exercise to be enjoyable. And so we want you to exercise somewhere at about a 6 or a 7. So you're out walking and you ask yourself, okay, where am I? On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 3. Okay, so you gotta pick it up a little bit more. Okay. Oh, now I'm at a 7. Perfect. Perfect. And you want to maintain that 7 for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, ease it down. You can do some stretching. See, that's how you add in that extra exercise. A little stretching, maybe if you have nearby, maybe some resistance training. And see, there's your exercise program right there. Right there. Before you start that, you want to warm up too. So warming up, maybe a little bit more stretching. Maybe some breathing exercises, huh? So now we have a 40-minute exercise plan all in one shebang. 5 to 10 minutes warm up, 15 to about 30 minutes of actual exercise, another 5 to 10 minutes of cool down with some weights, maybe some stretching, some resistance training. I don't like to say, I say weights, but some resistance training. When I say weights, I do mean kind of dumbbells, but any sort of resistance training, stretch cords, body weight, whatever you have, and some stretching. Perfect. That's 40 minutes of great. And the first time you do that, you'll probably feel like, oh wow, I didn't even feel like I did any exercise. That's the way it should feel. There for a long time when I did my exercise in the morning, later in the day, I had to ask myself, did I exercise this morning? Because it got into that point where I was so in tune to that exercise, it felt so good, it was so enjoyable, that I wondered if I think I did. I know my gym clothes are smelly and wet. So, but anyway, so more about that intensity. The other way that we can determine your intensity, and this is where you have to pay attention to your physiological responses. One of your physiological responses is your heart rate. You can palpate your radial artery, and you can feel your heart rate. And if you count that for 10 seconds, and then multiply it by 6, that will be your heart rate for 1 minute. Okay? Has everybody done that before? Or you can go out and get one of those fancy watches that'll do it for you. You don't have to count anything. But I am not going to tell you to go out and buy anything when you don't need to buy anything. I mean, if you want to buy it, that's up to you. But anyway, so you have that pulse, typically called your pulse. When you exercise, you want to be somewhere between 70 and 80% of your maximum heart rate. 70 to 80% of your maximum heart rate. What is your maximum heart rate? Do you know what that is? The equation is right up there. This is the straight line method. This is kind of the simple method to figure that out. And it's very simple. Take the number 220 and subtract your age. 220 minus your age. Now, 20 years old, right? You're 20 years old? So for mathematic purposes, I'm going to use 20 years old. That would mean your maximum heart rate is 200 beats per minute. And that's typical of a 20-year-old. When you're 20 years old, you might see when you're working out your hardest, you're pushing yourself the hardest, sprinting to the finish line of some big race, your max heart rate, you might see 200 on your automatic machine. If you try to stop and count it, it would drop before you actually get to the final number. But so that would be your maximum heart rate. I don't ever want to know or hear or even you telling me that you exercise at your max heart rate. I don't even want to know that. Don't tell me that. I want to know that you're at 70 or 80% of that. So just take 200. We're just using we're using 200 because mathematics is just easier. And so multiply 200 by 0.7, and then multiply 200 by 0.8. And that is your target heart rate range. That's the range you want your heart rate when you are exercising. That's for a 20-year-old. You have to do it for yourself. If you're 40 years old, you subtract 40 from 220. If you're 60 years old, you subtract 60 from 220. And so on and so on and so on. Okay?
I'm bad at math.
I know. Well, use a calculator.
Oh,
But
I
that's
have those too.
so, but anyways, and then multiply that by 0.7 and then 0.8. And that's your range. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, there's some medications that may not allow your heart rate to get to that level. There are medications like beta blockers that will lower that heart rate. And so that's when you have to really look at that scale of 1 to 10. You can't really go by the heart rate at that point. But the heart rate is just what was designed by physiologists back in the day to give people a quantitative idea of what intensity they are at. And that whole intensity thing is based on, well, I'm not even going to go into that part of it, but I am a physiologist. I was getting ready to go into a physiology lecture, but I'm not going to. If you want to talk to me later, I'll talk to you about it. But here's that RPE chart or modified version of the RPE chart. And all RPE stands for is rate of perceived exertion. And this is 1 to 10. 1, very light, not doing much of anything, watching TV. But 10 feels almost impossible to keep going. Completely out of breath, you're exhausted at that point. And so where we want you is somewhere in here. Moderate to not really vigorous, maybe not a 7, maybe not an 8, but somewhere in that area. Okay? And just keep that scale in your mind. The original RPE, I don't think I have this on, nope, I should have. But the original RPE scale is based on the numbers from 6 to 20. What? It doesn't make too much sense. If somebody just writes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down, just real quick, I'm going to give you a little bit of a physiology lecture. Just write 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so Borg, Dr. Borg, was the first person to do some quantifiable studies on intensity. He used college-age male and female athletes to rate how hard they were doing a specific type of exercise. After he rated those exercises, after they rated those exercises, he took their heart rates. And if you put a 0 behind that 6, the 7, the 8, the 9, and the 10, that was their heart rates. 60 beats per minute, 70 beats per minute, 80 beats per minute. That's how he came up with the original RPE scale, 6 to 20. So that's your physiology lecture. But yeah, for us, even in our clinic, we use that, but then we usually have to tell people, oh yeah, just think about 1 to 10, because it's a little bit more intuitive. 1 to 10, and 6 to 20. Okay? But anyways, that is your chart, really kind of based on your heart rate. But yeah, and so at that minimal amount, that 70%, that's when your body, your heart, your cardiovascular system is getting maximum benefit. And a lot of times, more is not better. More is not better. So if you're at that 70%, 70 to 80%, or that 6 to 7 on this scale, that's perfect. That's right where you want to be. Going up here is usually, doesn't make it better. Does not make it better. Okay? If you are not on your walk holding hands, and if you guys cannot discuss the daily business of home, family, then you're going too hard. You're walking too fast. Okay? Typically, it's called the talk test. If you can't talk while you're doing your aerobic exercise, you're going too fast, going too hard. Okay? Now, continue that exercise. Continue to adjust your exercise. Your talk test today, you might only be walking. I'm just throwing this number out there. Your talk test today, you might only be walking 1 mile an hour. Your talk test 2 weeks from now, after being consistent, you might be walking 2 miles an hour. Your body increases its functional capacity. Your cardiovascular system becomes more efficient. You deliver blood to the working muscles much more efficiently. And going all the way back to that first slide, you are increasing your numbers of HDL. Your blood vessels are dilating. They're actually getting bigger, while at the same time you're reducing and slowing down the amount of plaque buildup in your arteries as well. Okay? And that is what the whole story is about. Nobody asked too many questions. Yeah.
Computer, I will do online.
Okay. What about
Thank you. Mike, thank you. I actually do have some questions for you that have come
Sure.
in. So,
Certainly.
and we usually ask them to hold them. So that's, I'm sure that everybody was on there. They were doing a great job. So, one of the questions I had, and I appreciate you sharing about how to determine sort of what heart rate you should be at. Well, I did have a question that somebody was asking about that, what they should be looking for. So you sort of covered that. But what if you've got, you've had a heart event or some sort of, you have a heart condition, are there any exercises that they should avoid, that they shouldn't be doing? I mean, I'm assuming they should obviously speak with their physician about that, but how do you determine that, I guess, through cardiac rehab perhaps, and maybe you could share a little bit about how that works.
So typically the first question that should be directly to their cardiologist as well. A lot of different cardiologists will have their own opinions as to what exercises they should not perform. And it's based on a lot of different factors. But at cardiac rehab, we try to refrain from people going too high of a heart rate, too much effort, especially in the beginning. If they are, a seasoned exerciser that has been in our facility for, several weeks, then we tend to go a little bit easier. We tend to relax those restrictions a little bit. But typically having those high heart rates, that's what we try to discourage. Okay. And so once again, any sort of exercise that keeps those heart rates a little bit lower, or that, exercises that that cause high heart rates, we tend to discourage those exercises.
Okay. And when you are in cardiac rehab, can you just sort of share what that process is like?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just so that people would understand, if I know you see them in the hospital, then they go, then they might start a program from there.
Sure. So cardiac rehab, and if anybody has any questions in the audience about that as well, I'd be more than willing to answer those. But cardiac rehab, it's a controlled, monitored exercise program that's progressive as well. So you go to cardiac rehab, and we do an initial evaluation just to see what your baseline is. And then from that point, we prescribe exercise. You'll come to the clinic twice a week, at least twice a week. We do have some patients that come 4 days a week, but at least twice a week. And that twice a week is necessary to show that there is a consistency in the exercise. Any less than that, then we don't see any improvement. Now, once in cardiac rehab, you do wear a cardiac monitor. It's actually a telemetry monitor, and it's very analogous to an EKG that you would receive in a hospital. Our telemetry monitor is a 5-lead EKG, and that's how we follow your progress in cardiac rehab. We follow your EKG throughout your whole exercise session. Each session in cardiac rehab is about an hour long. And we do, during your initial evaluation, we determine your heart rate zones. The way that we determine the heart rate zones here was called the straight line method. We use a modified Carbonian method to determine your heart rates in cardiac rehab, only because we know that the heart has had some sort of compromise. And that formula is a little bit different. We incorporate your resting heart rate into that formula as well. So, we get a little bit closer to your actual working heart rate.
Great.
And then we follow you for 36 sessions, about 18 weeks if you come twice a week. Sure.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's important that people know, that it's an option if they need it.
Right.
When they've had some sort of a heart event, that we have the program. So I had somebody ask about do you know of an outside area where you can walk steps outside in Tucson?
Steps, like climbing steps?
I think climbing steps, yes.
Well, when the U of A football stadium is open to the public, that's a great place. There are, I'm trying to think. Parking garages, that's great. I know here at TMC, we used to have a step class where we would meet in the parking garage and just climb the steps. I'm not sure if that program is going on right now.
I haven't heard anything recently about it, but I know we've done some climbs in the parking garage before.
Right. But and I realize even in Tucson there aren't that many parking garages either. Most of them are at the U of A campus and TMC, right?
Right.
Tucson Mall.
Tucson Mall, yeah, there you go.
Parking garage.
Yeah, the parking garage at Tucson Mall, there's steps.
On weekends, a lot of times the high school field might be open.
Yeah, weekends, high school fields.
That's actually a great one, right? The high school fields, and I know, especially on the weekends, yes, they could go up and down those steps. That would be something. So that's a great one. Is there someone that somebody asked, is there somebody they can hire to develop an exercise plan for them? So I don't know whether there's any heart related information in there, just that they're looking for somebody who can help them to design sort of an exercise program.
Oh my gosh, Maya and the audience, there is a whole business of people that will sit down and develop an exercise plan for you. And, most of those individuals are located within a lot of the health clubs that are around Tucson, the JCC, LA Fitness, 24-Hour Fitness, Choose Fitness. Some of them go by health coaches, some of them are personal trainers, but there are people that will develop that plan for you.
Great. That's perfect. I know, we're trying to figure out, and what is your thought on walking up and down stairs? That was another question that came in. Good exercise for the heart, right?
It is great exercise for the heart, but once again, the whole premise of the talk is to make sure your heart rate stays within that zone. And I know sometimes walking up and down stairs, the going up can really get your heart rate above those numbers sometimes. And then the other thing about that is sometimes the duration isn't long enough. You get to the top of the steps and you're only at like a minute. Now what do? Well, I guess you go back down, but now your heart rate is low. And then you come back up again. So about that heart rate, it needs to be continuous, maintained at that certain heart rate. But steps are great exercise, though. Don't not do them because of that, because it's still great exercise.
Right. Okay. Do you have any tips for making exercise more fun or exciting, maybe so that it doesn't feel like it's a chore?
Do it with friends. Do it with a group. Or do it by yourself too. Sometimes that makes it more fun too. Because then you can do whatever you want to. You're not dependent on a group. But anything, play a game or something that'll make it fun. I know a lot of the sport games are not continuous in nature, but there's still good exercise, playing soccer, playing pickleball. It's not as continuous as we like, but it's still great exercise.
I was just going to ask you about pickleball. So, is how we see a lot of seniors and actually everybody now. Pickleball has become very popular.
Pickleball is very popular. Anything to get you out and moving, that is the key. Just get out. I don't care what you do, just do it.
Well, and I think it's whatever you're going to stick with, right? So that's really the big thing. I know, I enjoy hiking these days. So, if I can go on a great hike, that's something that I love to do, right? So there are all sorts of things that people can do, but yeah, sometimes we need ideas, right?
Right. So one of the other things, there are all these challenges that are out there that are posting. I do a lot of work with Benson Hospital. Benson Hospital, they started February 1st, their lunge challenge. And it's all the employees of the hospital. They do a certain number of lunges every day. Then because Benson Hospital is so small, they report to each other, but it keeps everybody motivated into doing that exercise. And so the same thing, I got into a push-up challenge here at TMC a couple of years ago. And one of the doctors that are here at the hospital, one day we just kind of decided, well, if we could do 30 push-ups, why don't we do 30 in the afternoon too? And then 30 now, and then 30 then. And, the goal was to do 300 push-ups by the end of the month.
Okay.
We ended up doing close to 3,000 push-ups. So, yeah, but it got fun. I mean, you think push-ups are a chore, but it was fun. It was fun. And so challenges, doing it with friends, neighbors, make it a competition. No, but exercise shouldn't be a competition. It should not be. But sometimes that keeps people motivated.
Right. Thank you. Well, Mike, I am going to close off with our online audience. That's all the questions that I had come in, but you can continue on in person answering any questions. I want to thank you so much for being here today and for kicking off our Heart Month. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me on again. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks so much for being here today. We will actually be back we'll be back tomorrow. So we hope that you'll join us. We're going to be talking about chronic heart failure and causes and treatments. That will be on Thursday, February 8th at 3 p.m. And it will be with Dr. Greg Kashkarian with Pima Heart and Vascular. We hope you will join us. If you are interested in coming to that lecture in person, there are a few seats left. You can give us a call at 520-324-1960. Or if you're interested in the online link, we're happy to give that to you as well. So please give us a call. Again, 520-324-1960, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.